Chapter 48-64. Most importantly, the death of one's soul was something that no one else would know about. Therefore, everyone would think that this person had suddenly changed. There was no doubt that if this sorcerer were to consume her soul, knowing her personality, she would run amok and do something extremely terrifying. Bailey Hongzhuang's heart sank. She may have heard of this kind of possession, but she has never experienced it. At that moment, she was at a loss for what to do. Don't even think about it. Even if your soul is rather powerful, you are no match for me. The woman's eyes were filled with joy. She had been living as a soul and had to rely on Jun Lingxuan. This made her feel extremely unhappy. As long as she has her own physical body, she would be able to survive. Come, be obedient and allow me to consume you. The woman's smile was strange and greedy. Her soul did not hesitate as it pounced towards Bailey Hongzhuang's consciousness. In your dreams. Bailey Hongzhuang cried out icily and began to fight with the woman's soul. As they fought, Bailey Hongzhuang's sea of consciousness also turned upside down. Bai Shi and Xiao He could not help but worry when they noticed the strange change in Bailey Hongzhuang. Master, what's wrong? Xiao He quickly asked. Master, are you all right? Bai Shi looked anxious. He could not understand why Bailey Hongzhuang had suddenly frozen in place. No matter how they called out to her, she did not respond. As Bailey Hongzhuang's consciousness began to fight, the Qilin lion beast also began to disappear through the door. It had been summoned by Bailey Hongzhuang's consciousness and was under Bailey Hongzhuang's control. At this moment, it could no longer feel Bailey Hongzhuang's pull and naturally left. Xiao Sou's face was filled with astonishment when she noticed this sudden change. However, she could not help but feel pleasantly surprised. What's going on? Xiao Sou looked at Jun Lingxuan. Bailey Hongzhuang was about to win. Why did everything suddenly change? Jun Lingxuan forced himself to stand up, a trace of viciousness appearing on his handsome face. It won't be that easy to kill us. Hearing those words, Xiao Sou's eyes were filled with joy. Young Master Jun, did you do this? Jun Lingxuan nodded slightly. That's right. She's not the only one with a trump card. I have one too. In fact, he was also a little surprised. Even though he knew how powerful the spirit was, he still believed that it would take some time to deal with the Qilin lion. He didn't expect that everything would be stopped in such a short time. He couldn't understand how it was done. Most importantly, he did not see the soul attack, but Bailey Hongzhuang seemed to be frozen in place, unable to move. It was really strange. Of course, in front of Xiao Sou, he would never show it. After hearing Jun Lingxuan's confirmation, the look of joy on Xiao Sou's face turned into admiration. I never thought that young Master Jun would have such a trump card. I don't care, I'm going to kill you first. The white lion turned its vicious gaze towards Xiao Sou. It was all because of this damned woman that its master had to endure so much. Even though it did not know what had happened to its master, it had seized this rare opportunity and it must kill this woman. Chapter 48-65. If you want your master to die, then do it. Jun Lingxuan's voice suddenly rang out. The corners of his lips curled into a cold smile as he stared fearlessly at Bai Shi. Clearly, he was certain that Bai Shi would not dare to make a move. What on earth have you done to my master? Bai Shi roared angrily. No matter how much he thought about it, he could not understand what had just happened. Jun Lingxuan laughed softly, her life is now in my hands. If you dare to act blindly without thinking, I can guarantee that she will die a horrible death. Bai Shi and Xiao He looked at each other but did not make a move in the end. Ever since they had followed their master, they had never encountered a situation like this. Compared to Xiao Sou, they naturally valued their master's life more. Noticing the fear in Bai Shi and Xiao He's eyes, Xiao Sou's eyes flashed with complacency and viciousness. She immediately took out a pill and swallowed it. She then broke free from Bai Shi's control and quickly approached Jun Lingxuan. "Young Master Jun, how did you do it?" Xiao Sou stared at Jun Lingxuan in amazement. They had thought that they were going to lose, but Jun Lingxuan had changed the outcome. Jun Lingxuan put on a mysterious smile. "Miss Xiao, everyone has their own secrets. I believe that you understand." Xiao Sou nodded. "I understand. Don't let her off. You must kill her." Every time she thought about how she had nearly died at Bailey Hongzhuang's hands, she felt a lingering fear in her heart. She no longer wished to find out about Bailey Hongzhuang's secret. She only wished that Bailey Hongzhuang would completely disappear from this world. Because of all these unforeseen events, her heart could no longer take it. Bailey Hongzhuang was a terrifying existence. Jun Lingxuan smiled and nodded. "Don't worry, none of them will be able to escape today." At the next moment, Jun Lingxuan turned his gaze to Bai Shi. His gaze was cold and vicious. "Bailey Hongzhuang's life is now in my hands. Kill yourself now as an apology. Otherwise, I'll kill her immediately." Bai Shi's expression stiffened when he heard this. "What? You don't believe me?" Jun Lingxuan raised his eyebrows. "How about I try it now?" "Stop!" White Lion hurriedly shouted. "Then kill yourself." Jun Lingxuan looked at Bai Shi proudly. He clearly remembered that this guy had attacked him just now. Although he had already taken the pill, his injuries were still serious. It was extremely difficult to deal with White Lion with his own strength. The only way was to use Bailey Hongzhuang to threaten them. He believed that these two contracted beasts would not dare to disobey him. After seeing this scene, Xiao Sou and Jun Zitao revealed proud smiles on their faces. Every dog has its day. Victory is still on our side. Jun Zitao heaved a sigh of relief. His entire being seemed to glow with vigor. Bai Shi looked hesitant. He did not know what to do. "Bai Shi, don't believe his words. If you really kill yourself, they won't let Master off. Don't do anything stupid." Xiao He hurriedly said. "Then what about Master?" Bai Shi had a complicated look on his face. Until now, Bailey Hongzhuang had not made any moves. This situation was just too strange. "Master will be fine," Xiao He said with certainty. Chapter 48-66. Jun Lingxuan, stop dreaming. Bai Shi's eyes were icy cold. When it had noticed the sudden change in its master, it had been too flustered and its mind had not been clear for a moment. Now that it has calmed down, it understood what was going on. "If you could really kill my master immediately, you would have done it long ago. Why would you wait until now? I'm sure that you can't kill my master immediately, can you?" Jun Lingxuan's expression sank when he heard Bai Shi's words. He never thought that these two contractual beasts would be so smart and would not fall for his trick. "It's fine if you don't believe me. After all, once Bailey Hongzhuang dies, you'll all die as well." Jun Lingxuan chuckled as if he did not care about this at all. As long as Bailey Hongzhuang dies, Xiao He and Bai Shi, as contractual beasts, would naturally die with Bailey Hongzhuang as well. He was very confident that as long as that spirit attacked, Bailey Hongzhuang would never be able to survive. After all, he had experienced the power of that spirit firsthand. If it had not been for the fact that he had to pay a huge price every time she attacked, he would have asked her to attack long ago. However, as long as he could kill Bailey Hongzhuang, the price would be worth it. The situation had reached a stalemate. Bailey Hongzhuang and the spirit were engaged in a fierce battle in her mind. The other party kept trying to devour her spirit while she tried her best to stop it. During this battle, Bailey Hongzhuang realized that this spirit was extremely powerful. She guessed that its predecessor must have been a very powerful being. If it had not been for the fact that she had not possessed a physical body for many years and her spiritual power had weakened significantly, she would not have been able to fight back at all. Even so, it was not easy for her to deal with this spirit. Her spirit stones had been greatly weakened after she had summoned the Qilin lion beast. Now, it was even more difficult for her to deal with this battle. The woman clearly did not expect Bailey Hongzhuang to be able to hold on for so long under her devouring. This made her feel a little tired. After all, she had put in a lot of effort to maintain the strength of her spirit. It would not be easy for her to replenish her depleted spirit stones. The woman's attacks became even more ferocious at the thought of this. She had to end this battle quickly and obtain Bailey Hongzhuang's physical body. Bailey Hongzhuang's heart shivered when she sensed the sudden increase in her opponent's attacks. Just then, a thought appeared in Bailey Hongzhuang's mind. Thinking of this, Bailey Hongzhuang mobilized the power of light and began to attack the evil cultivator. Di Beichen and Mo Yinjue moved forward like this. Suddenly, their eyes turned to the front. Di Beichen's eyes lit up. Ever since he entered the Immortal Cloud's secret territory, he had always been alone. Until they came across a herb field and met Mo Yinjue. The two of them had been traveling together ever since. They had been traveling for a few days now, but they had not met any other cultivators. They felt rather helpless about this. At this moment, they only hoped that they could find Bailey Hongzhuang as soon as possible. They did not know why, but they felt worried as if something bad had happened. Chapter 48-67. In fact, they had not met any other cultivators along the way and their hearts were pounding. They did not know if it was because the Immortal Cloud Mystery Realm was too big or if it was because of their luck. If it was really because of their luck, they did not know whether they were lucky or not. This was because they hoped to meet their companions as soon as possible, especially Bailey Hongzhuang and Ao Lingxiao. Only when they found Bailey Hongzhuang would they be able to calm down. Ao Lingxiao was undoubtedly in the most danger in the Immortal Cloud Mystery Realm. The later they met him, the greater the danger. Beichen, as long as Ao Lingxiao changes his appearance, it should not be easy for others to discover him. Mo Yinjue's dark and deep eyes flashed with a cold and serious light. His voice was gentle as he put forward his thoughts. Ordinary cultivators might not be able to recognize him, but the cultivators from the Ao family and the Jun family have already locked onto his aura. A person's appearance can be changed through disguise, but one's aura cannot be concealed. Ao Zhengquang and the others are so familiar with him that even if his appearance is different, they would be able to recognize him immediately. He had asked Di Xiaofeng about this before. The cultivators from the upper realm were able to determine their identities based on their aura. If the disguise technique was extremely good, it might be able to confuse them for a period of time. However, this only applied to cultivators who were not very familiar with them. If it was someone who was very familiar with them, it would not be able to fool them. When he heard this news, Di Beichen sighed in his heart. It seemed that when they had changed their appearance and returned to Rongan City previously, it was also quite risky. Fortunately, they were not recognized at that time. The biggest reason for this was that when they were in the House of Raging Flames, they did not make many friends. Therefore, most people were not familiar with them and naturally could not recognize their aura. Hearing Di Beichen's explanation, Mo Yinjue furrowed his beautiful eyebrows. In that case, Ao Lingxiao is indeed more dangerous. Let's speed up. Who knows, the person who is fighting now might be Ao Lingxiao. Di Beichen nodded slightly. They had only been in the Immortal Cloud Mystery Realm for about 10 days. Normally, cultivators would not obtain any outstanding treasures. The battle in the distance was so intense. Perhaps it really was Ao Lingxiao. Baisher and Xiao He had been paying attention to Bailey Hongzhuang's situation. When they saw that their mistress's face was turning paler and the corners of her lips were bleeding, the two beasts could not help but panic. Why can't I understand what kind of situation Master is in? At this moment, Xiao He could not be bothered with the fact that her body had yet to recover. Under such circumstances, she was not in the mood to think about these things. She was only worried about Bailey Hongzhuang. White Lion shook its head. It was also unfamiliar with such a situation. Previously, it had not noticed what Jun Lingxuan had done to its master, but its master had already become like this. It was really too strange. If this continues, I'm afraid Master won't be able to hold on for much longer. From Bailey Hongzhuang's pale, bloodless face, it could be seen that she was struggling with all her might. Jun Lingxuan, what have you done? Baisher's eyes were filled with a dark haze as a cold killing intent wreaked havoc. Chapter 48-68. Young Master Jun, if it's possible, let's settle this matter as soon as possible. Xiao Sou's words were cold and her eyes were as dark as the night sky, filled with malevolence and urgency. This Bailey Hongzhuang is no pushover. She has brought us a lot of trouble ever since she had appeared. If we don't get rid of her as soon as possible, I'm worried that we won't know what kind of unforeseen events will happen in the future. Don't worry, she will definitely die today. Jun Lingxuan raised his long brows and his eyes were filled with confidence. However, this Bailey Hongzhuang holds many curious secrets. It would be a pity to let her die just like that. I'm afraid she won't tell us. Xiao Sou's expression was complicated as a vicious light flashed in her deep eyes. After experiencing so many unforeseen events, she could only hope that Bailey Hongzhuang would fall. Even though she was envious of Bailey Hongzhuang's methods, she knew very well that based on Bailey Hongzhuang's personality, she would never divulge this secret to them. Rather than that, they might as well just kill her. A dark light flashed in Jun Lingxuan's eyes as he stared at Xiao Sou's desperate look. Actually, he too had hoped that this battle could be resolved as soon as possible. However, even he himself did not know what was going on. Ever since that spirit had left, Bailey Hongzhuang had become like this. Vaguely, an idea appeared in his mind. That spirit had been searching for a suitable physical body. Could it be that she had taken a liking to Bailey Hongzhuang? At this moment, no matter how he tried to communicate with that spirit, he could not get any response. Just like how Bailey Hongzhuang would not respond to Baisher and Xiao He. Perhaps. The situation was just as he had predicted. Jun Lingxuan's eyes darkened at the thought of this. Even though he had promised to help the spirit find a suitable physical body, he did not want to do so. Because once that spirit had successfully taken over the body, she would never help him again. Moreover, if he knew her secret, he might be silenced by her instead. That would be the worst. Thinking of this, Jun Lingxuan turned to look at Xiao Sou and asked, Miss Xiao, how is your current situation? Do you still have the strength to fight? Xiao Sou was already worried about how to deal with Bailey Hongzhuang as soon as possible. After hearing Jun Lingxuan's question, a hint of joy quietly appeared in her eyes. I'm fine with it. Xiao Sou subconsciously looked at her injured shoulder and said, although my combat ability has been affected, I can still do it. Then let's end this quickly. Jun Lingxuan pursed his thin lips, and a trace of coldness flashed through his ink-black eyes. He was also seriously injured, but after taking a pill and resting for a short period of time, his condition had recovered quite a bit. Bailey Hongzhuang clearly no longer has the strength to fight while Xiao He's condition was extremely terrible. Similarly, there was no need to fear her. As such, they only needed to deal with Baisher. The scales of victory had already tilted towards their side. All right. After making their decision, Jun Lingxuan and Xiao Sou no longer hesitated and attacked at once. Jun Lingxuan immediately attacked Baisher while Xiao Sou turned her target towards Bailey Hongzhuang. She desperately hoped that Bailey Hongzhuang would fall as soon as possible and did not want to cause any more trouble. Seeing Jun Lingxuan and Xiao He's actions, Bai Shi's eyes were as cold as a frozen lake in October, chilling to the bone. Xiao He, let's fight. Chapter 48-69. In the blink of an eye, the battle had erupted. Bai Shi had blocked Jun Lingxuan's attack, but he could not protect Bailey Hongzhuang. Xiao He was already heavily injured and her condition was extremely weak. However, for the sake of Bailey Hongzhuang, she immediately enlarged her body and stood in front of her. Xiao Sou's sharp sword stabbed towards Xiao He without any hesitation. Xiao He used all her strength to block the attack. Elemental energy shot out and streaks of light from the sword flashed past. Xiao Sou could dodge but Xiao He could not. This was because if it chose to dodge, the attacks would land on its master's body. Hence, it could only endure them all. Within a short period of time, Xiao He's body was riddled with holes and dripping with blood. Xiao He's eyes, which had always been filled with vigor, gradually dimmed. Xiao He felt all the strength in her body dissipating. She glanced reluctantly at Bailey Hongzhuang behind her as if she wanted to remember her face forever. Master, I may not be able to stay by your side any longer. Her gentle gaze was filled with nostalgia and reluctance to part with Xiao He. She could vaguely see tears in her eyes before they finally turned into determination and unyielding. In the next moment, Blackie's figure moved and pounced directly at Xiao Sou. Even if she had to die, she would help her master get rid of a scourge. When Xiao Sou noticed Xiao He's actions, her eyes flashed with disdain and ridicule. You're already at the end of your rope. You can't possibly kill me. However, Xiao He ignored her words. The elemental energy within her body began to surge wildly. Then, Xiao He's body began to expand in front of everyone's eyes. Sensing Xiao He's movements, Bai Shi and Jun Lingxuan could not help but look over. Xiao He. Bai Shi's pupils shrank and he could not hide the shock and anxiety on his face. Miss Xiao, be careful. It's going to self-destruct. Jun Lingxuan hurriedly shouted. He never thought that the contract beast would choose to self-destruct in order to kill Xiao Sou. Originally, Xiao Sou didn't quite understand Xiao He's actions. Now that she heard Jun Lingxuan's reminder, a trace of panic quickly appeared on her face. You lunatic! Xiao Sou hurriedly retreated. The power of self-destruction was extremely terrifying. If Xiao He really self-destructed while hugging her, then no matter if it was her or Xiao He, there would be nothing left of them. However, no matter how Xiao Sou struggled, Xiao He hugged her tightly and refused to let her go. Xiao Sou, even if I die, I will drag you down with me. Xiao He's gaze was ferocious and stubborn. It gritted its teeth and its white fur was already dyed red with blood. However, it no longer cared about any of this. Xiao He, don't do anything stupid. Bai Shi's eyes were bloodshot. When he had found out about Xiao He's actions, his heart had been shaken. Even though the current situation was so dangerous, he never thought that things would turn out this way. This was because they had often lingered on the edge of danger in the past but had always managed to avert it. However, when he thought about Xiao He's actions, perhaps they really were powerless to turn the tables this time. If that was really the case, he would end up like Xiao He and drag Jun Lingxuan down with him. Chapter 48-70. Hearing Xiao He's words, Bai Shi nodded. There was a trace of sadness in its smile, but its eyes were filled with determination. You won't be alone. Even if I have to die, I will drag Jun Lingxuan down with me so that my master will have a chance of survival. It had already understood the situation before its eyes. It was obvious that Jun Lingxuan had no way of controlling its master's life and that was why it had decided to take action. As long as they perished together, then its master would still have a chance of survival. After hearing Bai Shi's words, Jun Lingxuan's brows furrowed with anxiety and worry. He never thought that these two contracted beasts would come to such a decision. These two fellows were just too ridiculous. Had they decided to give it their all in order to protect their master? He subconsciously turned to look at Bailey Hongzhuang. Although contracted beasts had always been extremely loyal to their masters, that was because of the master-servant contract between them. Once the master falls, the contracted beast would not have any chance of survival. However, how many contracted beasts would actually take the initiative to go to such lengths for their masters? Madness, these two contracted beasts have gone mad. Xiao Sou's pretty face was filled with terror. The glee in her eyes had long disappeared and was replaced with fear and dread. Young Master Jun, what should we do? She tried desperately to break free from Xiao He, but Xiao He stuck to her like a dogskin plaster, not giving her any chance to escape. Jun Lingxuan's expression was just as complicated. This sudden turn of events had left him at a loss for what to do. When Di Beichen and Mo Yinjue arrived, they saw the situation unfolding before their eyes. Within their line of sight, Bailey Hongzhuang's face was pale white and blood was flowing from the corners of her lips. Xiao He's fur had been dyed red with blood and it was gathering its strength in a frenzy to self-destruct. Although Baisher had suffered less injuries than Xiao He, it was still a very serious injury. How tragic was that? Their eyes were almost dyed with traces of blood at the first moment. Anger swept through their hearts, igniting their chests. Di Beichen's eyes, which were as bright as obsidian, turned cold in an instant. They were filled with oppression and killing intent, and the domineering aura of a powerhouse that said, "Those who submit to me will prosper and those who resist me will perish. You're courting death." His cold voice was like a cold lake. Under this cold chill, the surrounding temperature seemed to drop in an instant, condensing into ice. That was the woman he loved the most. She was the woman he would protect for the rest of his life. She was the woman he placed in the palm of his hand. But now, they were seriously injured by these damned bastards, and their two contracted beasts were even planning to self-destruct. The scene completely infuriated him. An indescribable feeling of blood spread in his heart. Kill. Kill, kill, kill. This was the only thought that appeared in Di Beichen's mind. He wanted to kill all these people in front of him. Only in this way could his anger be appeased. Mo Yinjue's expression instantly turned cold as well. A surging murderous intent swept through the air and almost condensed into a solid form. Even though Bailey Hongzhuang's sweetheart was not him, his desire to protect Bailey Hongzhuang has never wavered. She was the person he cared about the most, the person he placed at the tip of his heart at all times. These damned bastards had actually dared to do such a thing. He would never forgive them. The sudden voice shocked Xiao Sou and the others. When they saw Di Beichen and Mo Yinjue's figures, their expressions turned ugly. Chapter 48-71. When White Lion heard Di Beichen's voice, its despairing face was instantly dyed with a sense of pleasant surprise. It immediately looked at Xiao He and exclaimed, "Xiao He, stop. There's a turning point." Previously, they had indeed been driven to a dead end. That was why they had made such a choice. Now that the reinforcements have arrived, Xiao He naturally no longer had to choose to self-destruct. Hearing this, Xiao He's eyes flashed with astonishment. Then, it turned into pity and a look of relief appeared on its face. "I can no longer turn back. As long as all of you are safe, I can rest assured." Once they had chosen to self-destruct, there was no turning back. Long before this, it had already understood that there was no way out for itself. However, now that it had seen Di Beichen and the others appear, it felt that its master's life was not in danger. Hence, it was completely at ease. At least everyone was still alive. It was just that it would be leaving first. Hearing Xiao He's words, White Lion's expression turned sorrowful. That's right. How could it have forgotten that self-destructing was a path of no return? If one had not been driven to a dead end, no one would have made such a choice. When Di Beichen and Mo Yunjue noticed Xiao Hei's situation, their hearts turned cold. They were secretly annoyed that they had arrived too late. If they had arrived here earlier, then the situation would not have reached such an irreversible point of no return. Xiao Hei. Xiao Bai stared anxiously at Xiao Hei. Her face was filled with worry. Hurry up and try to stop. You can't die like this. Seeing Xiao Bai's appearance, a smile appeared on Xiao Hei's face. I've tried my best, but there's no way to stop this. Xiao Bai, it's great to see you again before I die. For as long as it could remember, it had lived with Xiao Bai. It had been so many years that even it could not remember how many years they had lived together. Even though they were usually noisy and chatty, in their hearts, each other had long been a part of their lives. When Xiao Bai saw Xiao Hei's appearance, her eyes turned red. Then, she charged towards Xiao Hei without hesitation. We've always been together. Even if we die, we should die together. Noticing Xiao Bai's actions, Xiao Hei's pupils shrank. Her eyes were filled with disbelief. Xiao Bai, are you crazy? Why did you come here to die? If we're going to die, we're going to die together. We've always lived together. How can you leave without me? Little White had obviously made up his mind. His face was calm and unperturbed. He then turned around and looked at Di Beichen. Master, I'm sorry, I have to go first. Remember to apologize to Mistress for me. We weren't able to accompany her to the end. However, these have been the happiest days of our lives. Don't do anything stupid. Di Beichen's expression was grave. Think of something. Perhaps there's still a way to turn things around. Hearing this, Xiao Bai and Xiao Hei looked at each other. Their lips curled into a smile. Since that's the case, let's give it a try. Knowing that they were going to die, they had nothing to fear. Then, Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai activated their cultivation techniques at the same time. They overlapped their hands and the energy in their bodies was connected. Chapter 48-72. After noticing Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai's actions, everyone understood that they were trying to stop the self-detonation. Di Beichen's expression darkened. He did not know if the situation could be reversed. No one had ever tried self-detonation before. However, their predecessors' experience told them that there was no turning back from self-detonation. Even so, they still harbored a glimmer of hope in their hearts. After all, many things in this world could turn from the impossible into the possible. Why do I feel that Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai look like a picture when they spin? Bai Shi looked at Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai in astonishment. Right now, he only hoped that nothing would happen to them. All these years, he had long gotten used to playing around with Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai. If they left just like that, he would not be able to accept it. This seems to be a yin-yang 8 trigrams diagram. Mo Yunjue raised his long eyebrows. His eyes, which were as black as a deep pool, were like stars in the dark night, revealing his deep thoughts and wisdom. Hearing this, Di Beichen nodded after taking a closer look. That's right, it's a yin-yang 8 trigrams diagram. In the past, Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai had used a similar technique and it was extremely powerful. This is a very mysterious diagram that is filled with a mysterious and chaotic power. Bai Shi's eyes lit up. He had some understanding of Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai's trump card. However, he did not know what effect Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai would have on this technique. You overestimate yourselves. A mocking look appeared in Xiao Sou's eyes. Everyone knew that once someone chose to self-detonate, they would not be able to survive. She did not expect Di Beichen and the rest to be so naive. They had hoped that there would be a way out of this and had even sacrificed the life of another contract beast. In her opinion, this was simply laughable. Compared to Xiao Sou, Jun Lingxuan was not in the mood to pay attention to these things at this moment. He was already heavily injured. They could deal with two contracted beasts, but now that Di Baichen and Mo Yinjue were in their peak condition, they were no match for them. Once they started fighting, they would only be courting death. Therefore, the only way now was to escape. Miss Xiao. Jun Lingxuan lowered his voice and hurriedly shouted while Di Baichen and the others were paying more attention to Xiao He. Let's run. Jun Lingxuan hurriedly said. Xiao Shou nodded repeatedly. She naturally understood how bad the current situation was. Only by quickly escaping would they have a chance of survival. In the next moment, the two of them turned around and retreated. Jun Zitao's face was deathly pale. He could not understand why there were so many unforeseen events today. First, Bailey Hongzhuang's strength had destroyed everything. Then, when they finally managed to turn the tables, Di Baichen and the others appeared. His mood was simply fluctuating, making it difficult for him to breathe. Jun Lingxuan quickly came to Jun Zitao's side and supported him, intending to leave. Seeing this, Jun Zitao could not help but say, "Big brother, put me down. With a burden like me, you can't escape at all." His injuries were too serious. Under Bailey Hongzhuang's attacks, it was not easy for him to be able to hold on to his last breath. Escaping with him was simply a burden. Not only was there no possibility of leaving, but everyone would have to stay here. Rather than that, it was better to abandon him and leave directly. Chapter 48-73. Looking at Jun Lingxuan's solemn and serious expression, Jun Zitao was touched. "Big brother, I know you're good to me, so I can't drag you down. Let me stay here. If you die because of me, I won't be able to rest in peace. Don't spout nonsense. The outcome is still unknown." Jun Lingxuan's expression was grave and serious. He understood that given the current situation, they might not even be able to escape on their own. It would be even more difficult for them to escape with Jun Zitao. However, even though he knew the situation, he was still unwilling to give up just like that. He had never thought of giving up on his younger brother and fighting for a chance of survival for himself. "Big brother, you've always cared for me since I was young. I understand that you're good to me. Even if I die here today, I won't regret it. So, don't do anything that makes me sad. Hurry up and leave." After Di Baichen and Mo Yinjue noticed Xiao He and Xiao Bai's situation, there was a trace of worry between their brows. However, they could not help in this situation. The only thing they could do was pray and hope that Xiao He and Xiao Bai could turn everything around. After returning to his senses, Di Baichen looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with concern but realized that the latter did not react to his appearance. "Baisher, what's going on?" Di Baichen hurriedly asked as his beautiful face was filled with worry and confusion. "I don't know what Jun Lingxuan did to Master to suddenly become like this." Baisher's expression was somewhat helpless. "No matter how I asked, Jun Lingxuan refused to tell me." As Baisher's voice fell, Di Baichen's gaze locked onto Jun Lingxuan. When he realized that the latter was planning to escape, his eyes, which were as deep as the ocean, were immediately dyed with a deep and cold light. "Jun Lingxuan, what did you do to my wife?" Di Baichen's cold voice was filled with a murderous aura that almost condensed into a substance. Di Baichen's eyes narrowed, and his ink-black pupils were filled with a peerless edge. Everyone present could sense this terrifying murderous intent and domineering aura. Even Jun Lingxuan could not help but shiver. Ever since he had met Di Baichen, he had never treated him well. However, this was the first time he had seen such a terrifying side to Di Baichen. Xiao Shou's heart was also filled with shock and horror. She had always known that Di Baichen was handsome and she had been mesmerized by him since the first time they met. His handsome face looked as if it had been meticulously carved by the heavens. The contours of his face were as sharp as a knife, cold and hard without losing his handsomeness. Under his sharp brows, his eyes, which were as deep as the ocean, were deep and mysterious. It was as if he could devour a person's soul with just one look. At this moment, Di Beichen's entire body exuded a cold and terrifying aura. He was as noble as a god and as a messenger of hell, exuding a bloodthirsty and terrifying murderous aura. Under the influence of this murderous aura, even they could not help but tremble and feel that it was difficult to resist. It was as if this kind of person was destined to be in a superior position since he was born. He could turn everything into ashes with just a raise of his hand. The questioning words struck Jun Lingxuan's heart. Looking at the pair of terrifying and murderous eyes, he was so weak that he did not dare to answer for a moment. After a long while, he finally broke free from Di Beichen's aura. The shock in his heart grew even stronger. A cultivator from the lower realm actually had such a terrifying and shocking aura. Chapter 48-74. Di Beichen, you. I. Jun Lingxuan was so intimidated by Di Beichen's aura that he was momentarily at a loss for words. He felt as if his opponent's gaze could directly freeze him into ice. That terrifying murderous aura had almost affected his mind. Under this gaze, he did not dare to lie at all. No. This can't be. Jun Lingxuan screamed madly in his heart. His opponent was just a person whom he had never paid any attention to. Now, he could actually influence his mind. This was something he would never allow. Di Beichen had already unleashed his murderous aura. He was well aware of the power of a murderous aura. That dense murderous aura could directly affect a person's mind. Under such circumstances, it was best to get the truth out of him. Jun Lingxuan's face flushed red. He gritted his teeth. Even though this feeling made him feel as if he was about to collapse, he knew very well that he absolutely could not say it out loud. Otherwise, it would be no different from trampling on his dignity. To be intimidated by a young brat from the lower realm was a joke in itself. I won't tell you. Jun Lingxuan said coldly. Hearing this, Di Beichen's eyes turned sharp. Since that's the case, I'll force you to tell me. That was the woman whom he had risked his life to protect. No matter what method he had to use, he would find a way to break it from Jun Lingxuan. In the next moment, Di Beichen's figure moved and directly approached Jun Lingxuan. Mo Yinjue's face had been gloomy the entire time. His eyes, which were as deep as black holes, were gathering a terrifying whirlpool storm. This damned bunch actually dared to hurt Hong Zhuang. He would never allow that to happen. Xiao Sou stood on the spot and stared blankly at Di Beichen and Mo Yinjue. She did not know why, but when faced with the murderous aura emanating from their bodies, she felt her mind go blank. It was only when the two of them were getting closer and closer that she finally reacted and hurriedly said, "Quick. Let's run. Big brother, it'll be too late if we don't leave now." Jun Zitao also shouted with a pale face. He was already a cripple, and he absolutely could not implicate his elder brother. You want to escape? Dream on. Di Beichen did not give them any chance to escape. These damned bastards, from the moment they attacked Hong Zhuang, their fate was sealed. He would definitely kill these fellows. Jun Lingxuan looked at the rapidly approaching Di Beichen, then looked at Di Beichen on the ground, and suddenly said, "How about we make a deal?" "You don't have the right to make a deal with me." Di Beichen's voice was extremely cold, revealing an unquestionable meaning. "If you kill us now, you will never know the solution to Bailey Hongzhuang's current situation." Jun Lingxuan forced himself to remain calm. Since there was no chance to escape now, he could only try to make a deal with Di Beichen. No matter what, he could not throw his life away here. "Do you think I'll believe you?" Di Beichen's gaze was as sharp as a knife, and there was a trace of disdain in his voice. "As long as you die, the thing you used on her will also disappear." "No, it's not like that." Jun Lingxuan shook his head, and his face was filled with seriousness. I don't mind telling you that the reason she became like this is not because of the martial skill I used. Then what is it? Chapter 48-75. As long as you promise to let us live today, I will tell you about this matter. How about it? Jun Lingxuan looked at Di Beichen with a burning gaze. This was the only way he could think of at the moment. You trust me that much? Aren't you afraid that I'll go back on my word? Di Beichen's eyebrows revealed a trace of astonishment. The people of the Jun family had always been crafty and crafty. He never thought that Jun Lingxuan would say something like this at this moment. I know that you're a gentleman. Jun Lingxuan's expression was complicated, but his voice was filled with certainty. At this moment, Mo Yinjue's voice rang out, since you said that this matter was not caused by your martial skills, then do you have a way to resolve Hong Zhuang's current situation? Following Mo Yinjue's words, Jun Lingxuan's expression suddenly turned ugly. He originally wanted to play dumb and fool Di Beichen into agreeing to it. Then, this matter would have a turn for the better. However, he never thought that this unfamiliar man would actually poke at the heart of the problem with his words. If it was anything else, he could make up some nonsense. However, he had no way of contacting that spirit at the moment. How was he going to resolve this? After noticing the change in Jun Lingxuan's expression, Di Beichen's expression also darkened. Since there's no way to resolve this, then you can die. Di Beichen did not give Jun Lingxuan any chance to speak. He brandished the severed passion sword and attacked Jun Lingxuan without hesitation. This damned guy should have died long ago. The reason why they were in so much danger and why their family was in such a predicament was all because of this damned Jun family. Long before entering the Immortal Cloud's secret realm, they had already made up their minds. As long as they met any cultivators from the Jun family, they would not show any mercy. As long as these guys were dead, the family's troubles would be much easier to resolve. Di Beichen. Jun Lingxuan could not help but shout out. However, when he saw that the other party had no intention of speaking to him, his heart turned cold. With his cultivation, he might still have a slim chance of survival if he quickly escaped now. But if he left like this, then Shi Tao would definitely not be able to survive. He couldn't do that. At the same time, Mo Yinjue attacked Xiao Sou. This ugly and despicable woman had been humiliating Hong Zhuang in every possible way. He wanted to kill her to avenge Hong Zhuang. Seeing Mo Yinjue attacking her, Xiao Sou couldn't help but ask, "What benefits did Di Beichen give you?" "I can give you double." "No, 3 times. As long as you help us deal with Di Beichen, you can ask for anything you want. What do you think?" From her point of view, Mo Yinjue was not a member of the Di family. As long as she gave him enough benefits, it wouldn't be difficult to convince him. However, Mo Yinjue only answered her with the weapon in his hand. He didn't even want to say a word to such an ugly woman. The battle instantly broke out again. Di Beichen did not hold back at all. His murderous aura and blood aura completely exploded. The thick blood aura mixed with the surging murderous aura formed a terrifying aura that completely exploded, enveloping Jun Lingxuan and the other two. Jun Shitao was already seriously injured. Even after taking a pill, his condition did not improve much. At this moment, under the influence of this aura, he could not help but spit out blood. His entire face was extremely ugly. He did not doubt that if he continued to be enveloped by this aura, he would lose his life soon. Chapter 48-76. He was already puzzled when he saw Bailey Hongzhuang's terrifying techniques. He didn't expect Di Beichen to have such techniques as well. Could it be that, the techniques of the lower realms were already unknown to the cultivators of the upper realms? Even though his heart was filled with shock, he wasn't in the mood to think about it carefully. The most important thing now was to protect his own life. Therefore, even though his body was extremely weak, he still tried his best to move away. As long as he could get away from this aura, he would still have a chance of survival. After exchanging blows with Di Baichen, Jun Lingxuan discovered that Di Baichen's cultivation had also reached the nebula realm. This discovery shocked him. He clearly remembered that when Xiao Sou told him before, Di Baichen was only at the starlight realm. How could Di Baichen reach the nebula realm in such a short time? One had to know that this level of strength was very outstanding even among the cultivators of the upper realms. How did Di Baichen do it? Most importantly, Di Baichen's cultivation had increased so quickly in such a short time. How did he cultivate? Shock and doubt lingered in Jun Lingxuan's mind, but he couldn't think about it carefully. He could only do his best to deal with Di Baichen's attacks. Both of their strengths were about the same. In addition, he was already injured, so his combat strength was affected. If not for the fact that Di Baichen's martial techniques were still slightly lacking, he wouldn't be a match for him at all. Under such circumstances, he would definitely lose his life if he was slightly distracted. Di Baichen's killing intent was no joke. He only wanted to tear him into pieces. Xiao Sou originally thought that the cultivation of the man in front of her wasn't very high. After all, she had never seen him before. She only knew that he was Bailey Hongzhuang's friend. The reason she remembered him was because he was extremely handsome. Even when he stood beside Di Baichen, he didn't pale in comparison. Handsome men were always easy to remember. Therefore, even if she had only seen him once, she would still remember him clearly. However, after exchanging blows, she realized that her opponent's strength was not to be underestimated. What she found most unbelievable was that her cultivation was actually inferior to his. How was this possible? Xiao Sou immediately felt that the world was too crazy. Why were these fellows from the lower realms so powerful? This shouldn't have happened at all. After realizing that she was not Mo Yinjue's opponent, Xiao Sou's mind was racing. Young Master Jun, I have an escape talisman that was given to me by my family. It is my greatest means of survival. However, this escape talisman can only take 2 people away at most, and once I use it, I don't know where I'll end up. The only thing we can be sure of is that we will still be in the Immortal Cloud's secret realm. If it doesn't work, then we'll just leave. Xiao Sou transmitted her voice to Jun Lingxuan. This was her last resort. This escape talisman was an extremely precious treasure to her family. As long as she had this escape talisman, it was no different from having another life. If it wasn't for her identity as the Saint of the Light Maiden, her family would never have given her this escape talisman. She had never thought that she would have to use it here. However, based on the current situation, it couldn't be helped. When Jun Lingxuan heard that Xiao Sou had an escape talisman, his eyes lit up with joy. Chapter 4877. The art of runes was an extremely profound lost art, and runes were of great help to cultivators. Among them, the escape talisman was a very precious one. As the name implied, it was a rune used for escape. As long as the cultivator held the escape talisman in his hand, once he crushed it, he could escape to any place. The stronger the escape talisman, the further the escape distance. In the past, the art of runes could be said to be extremely popular, but later on, the art of runes gradually declined, and the number of rune masters became fewer and fewer. Needless to say, rune masters who could make high-grade runes were even rarer. Therefore, the value of high-grade runes became higher and higher. Among them, the escape talisman could be said to be the most valuable rune. Because the escape talisman was tantamount to giving the cultivator another life, its effect was greater than medicinal pills. The escape talisman that Xiao Sou's family gave her was definitely not a low grade, and it was enough to get them out of the current predicament. However, when he heard Xiao Sou say that this escape talisman could only take 2 people away, his heart turned cold again. In this way, it meant that only he and Xiao Shou could leave, and there was absolutely no possibility of Jun Zitao leaving. No, I can't give up on Zitao. Jun Lingxuan said solemnly. Seeing Jun Lingxuan so persistent, Xiao Shou frowned. Previously, she really didn't think that Jun Lingxuan and Jun Zitao would have such a deep brotherly relationship. If it was an ordinary person, they would have left long ago. After all, no one's life was more important than their own. However, after seeing Jun Lingxuan's loyal and righteous appearance, her favorable impression of him deepened. Perhaps it was because she had seen too many heartless people, such a loyal and righteous person seemed to be very precious. Previously, she only felt that Jun Lingxuan's conditions were very suitable for her, but now she suddenly felt that this man indeed had his charm. After Bailey Hongzhuang thought of the purification effect of the light energy, she did not hesitate to use it. She didn't know how effective the power of light was on the soul, but she believed that it would have a certain effect on evil cultivators. As Bailey Hongzhuang channeled her radiant force, a look of fear appeared in the evil cultivator's eyes. You're actually a light attribute cultivator. The evil cultivator was completely dumbfounded. She had never expected Bailey Hongzhuang to possess the light attribute. This attribute was the most incompatible with her cultivation method. Just based on this point alone, it was impossible for her to successfully possess him. Looking at the sorcerer's surprised expression, Bailey Hongzhuang knew that her method was indeed effective. She had never used her elemental powers before, so it was normal that the sorcerer did not know about it. The most important thing was that this guy paid so much attention to his appearance. He had been studying how his appearance met her requirements, but he didn't even try to understand his own attributes. She was speechless. In the next moment, Bailey Hongzhuang activated her cultivation method, and a steady stream of light energy began to gather in her mind. She wanted to use the radiant force to completely drive the evil cultivator's soul out and take back control of her body. Ever since she started fighting with the evil cultivator, she had already lost control of her body. They had been constantly fighting, and the control of her body was constantly changing. Chapter 48-78. She could not help but worry whenever she thought of this situation. She could only hope that she could expel this damned soul as soon as possible. Ah! The evil cultivator's soul shrieked in agony as the light energy's purifying effect was instantly revealed. She was only in the form of a soul, so the light energy was the most effective against her. Furthermore, she had been using evil methods to strengthen her soul all these years. When she encountered the light energy, she was like a mouse that had seen a cat. She had no way of retaliating at all. Get out of here, now. Bailey Hongzhuang's soul suddenly shone brightly under the illumination of the light energy. Her delicate face was as pure and holy as a fairy as it emitted a bright and dazzling light. Under this pure and flawless light, the evil cultivator's soul felt as if it was being roasted on a hot fire. A sizzling sound could be heard. Wisps of black gas began to seep out from her soul. Her spiritual energy was instantly weakened and even the size of her soul had shrunk. At the same time, Bailey Hongzhuang could sense that the evil cultivator's pressure on her had lessened. She could not help but feel delighted. It looks like she has the upper hand in this battle. Damn it! The evil cultivator could not help but cry out in alarm. She immediately tried to escape from Bailey Hongzhuang's mind. However, how could Bailey Hongzhuang let her leave so easily? Her sea of consciousness had been severely damaged because of this damned fellow. It was not in her nature to let her leave just like that. Go to hell. Bailey Hongzhuang channeled the light energy with all her might and unleashed the purifying effect to its maximum. Sizzle sizzle, the purifying power repeatedly roasted the soul as if it was trying to purify all the evil in it. Let me go, now. The evil cultivator struggled with all her might. The purifying power caused her immense pain and her expression turned malevolent. You're thinking of leaving after wreaking havoc in my sea of consciousness. Not so easy. Bailey Hongzhuang scoffed icily, a damned fellow like you actually wanted to absorb Xiao Hei's blood essence. Let me purify it for you. Seeing this, the evil cultivator could not help but beg for mercy. Miss, I was wrong. I shouldn't have had such thoughts about you. Please let me go. Why didn't you think that way when you tried to devour my soul? Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were cold and sharp. Even now, she could not help but feel afraid. If it wasn't for the fact that he was of the light attribute and had a restraining effect on it, the consequences would have been unimaginable if the other party had succeeded in seizing his body. She wanted this soul to be completely destroyed here. At the very least, she couldn't let it help Jun Lingxuan in any way, lest it bring more trouble to them. This sorcerer was so vicious. Perhaps all of Jun Lingxuan's evil ideas were related to her. She would only be at ease if he was dead. Noticing that Bailey Hongzhuang was determined and had no intention of letting go, the sorcerer's heart skipped a beat. For a moment, she could only beg for mercy. She had spent so much effort over the years to persevere until now. She did not want to disappear just like that. Bailey Hongzhuang ignored him completely. Under the scorching heat, she gradually realized that the black fog in the evil cultivator's black soul was gradually dissipating, and the remaining soul was becoming transparent. Is this soul force? Chapter 48-79. Even in her previous life, Bailey Hongzhuang had not done much research on spiritual energy. Hence, she did not understand the situation in front of her very well. However, after some investigation, she realized that this energy was extremely pure. It seemed like it could be absorbed. Thinking of this, Bailey Hongzhuang tried to use her spiritual sense to approach the transparent and pure energy. Soon after, she realized that the energy had directly merged with her spiritual sense and strengthened her spiritual energy. For a moment, Bailey Hongzhuang felt as if her spiritual sense had encountered a great tonic. It greedily absorbed the energy and continued to strengthen itself. Noticing this, she could not help but feel elated. Ever since she had mastered the art of summoning, she had been eager to increase her spiritual sense as soon as possible. Only by increasing her spiritual sense would she be able to summon stronger demonic beasts. At the same time, she would be able to extend the duration of her battle. However, increasing one's spiritual sense was much more difficult than increasing one's cultivation. Fortunately, she had previously refined pills to increase her spiritual sense, which had helped. However, it was still not enough for her. She never thought that encountering the evil cultivator's possession would result in such a reward. After regaining control of her body, Bailey Hongzhuang hurriedly opened her eyes and observed the situation around her. With one look, she realized that Di Beichen and Mo Yunjue had already appeared. At this moment, Jun Lingxuan and Xiao Sou were resisting their attacks with great difficulty. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang quietly heaved a sigh of relief. It seemed that she did not have to worry anymore. Master, are you all right? Baisher had been paying attention to Bailey Hongzhuang's situation. When it saw that the latter had opened her eyes and reacted, its bright and sparkling eyes immediately filled with joy. Bailey Hongzhuang gently nodded, I'm all right. Don't worry. That's great. Baisher could not hide its joy. It hurriedly shouted at Di Beichen, Master is all right. Di Beichen's attack landed mercilessly on Jun Lingxuan's body. When he thought of his wife being in danger, he couldn't wait to tear this guy apart. Under Di Beichen's ferocious and powerful attacks, Jun Lingxuan appeared to be extremely exhausted. He had already expended a lot of energy in the previous battle, and now he was injured. Coupled with the suppression of his opponent's aura, it was difficult for him to even move. If both sides were fighting at their peak, he would not have been suppressed like this. This feeling made him feel extremely sullen. Suddenly, Baisher's joyful voice could be heard. After Di Beichen heard this voice, his gloomy face suddenly brightened up, like a 10,000-year-old ice melting like a spring breeze. He was distracted and looked behind him. It was only when he saw Bailey Hongzhuang approaching him that he calmed down. "Now, you're worthless." A sharp light flashed in Di Beichen's eyes. Previously, he had been worried because he wanted to know his wife's current situation. Now, he no longer had to worry about this problem. He no longer had to worry about attacking. When Jun Lingxuan saw Bailey Hongzhuang's situation, a thick sense of astonishment appeared in his eyes. However, he did not feel despair because of this. Instead, he was pleasantly surprised. He knew how powerful the soul that had attached itself to him was. As long as she tried to take over his body, no ordinary cultivator would be a match for her. Chu Chu was only in her 20s. How could Bailey Hongzhuang's soul power compare to that of an old monster? Hence, the only possibility was that she had succeeded in taking over his body. Chapter 4880. At that thought, Jun Lingxuan's eyes lit up. If Bailey Hongzhuang didn't exist anymore, Di Beichen wouldn't be willing to do anything to her, given his feelings for her. In this way, they had the absolute advantage again. "It seems that you've succeeded. Help me kill him," Jun Lingxuan said to Bailey Hongzhuang. Following Jun Lingxuan's words, everyone present was stunned. Their eyes were filled with confusion. They didn't understand what he meant. Xiao Shou and Jun Zitao also looked at Jun Lingxuan in bewilderment. Was he so anxious that he spoke without thinking? Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't wait to kill them. Why would she help them? It was even less likely that she would kill Di Beichen. Of all the people, only Bailey Hongzhuang understood what Jun Lingxuan meant. Her eyes turned even darker and colder. This damn guy wanted her to kill Di Beichen. Fortunately, she hadn't been successfully possessed. Otherwise, if Di Beichen was killed by him, it would be the most painful thing. She couldn't imagine that scene at all. The next moment, Bailey Hongzhuang sped up, and a dazzling smile beamed on her exquisite face. "I'll help you." After seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's reaction, the smile in Jun Lingxuan's eyes gradually deepened. It seemed that his guess was not wrong. Bailey Hongzhuang really didn't exist anymore. With Bailey Hongzhuang's identity, he might be able to completely destroy the Di family. This was simply a heaven-sent opportunity. For a moment, Jun Lingxuan's heart was filled with wishful thinking, as if all the problems could be completely solved in an instant. Di Beichen looked at Jun Lingxuan in confusion. "What on earth did you do to my wife?" Jun Lingxuan chuckled, and his eyes were full of sarcasm. "You'll find out soon enough." After approaching Di Beichen, Bailey Hongzhuang attacked him without hesitation. "Wife, what's wrong?" The look in Di Beichen's eyes changed. He stared at Bailey Hongzhuang in disbelief. He couldn't believe that she would attack him. Mo Yinjue was also in disbelief. "Hongzhuang, what are you doing?" Meanwhile, Jun Lingxuan's smile couldn't be prouder. "She's not your wife anymore. She's mine now." As he spoke, Jun Lingxuan looked happily at Bailey Hongzhuang. "You should be satisfied now." Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and nodded. She then slowly walked to Jun Lingxuan's side. "This physical body is indeed not bad. I'm very satisfied." "Haha." Jun Lingxuan laughed. Although this result was beyond his expectations, when he thought about it carefully, there were many benefits. Just as Di Beichen and the others were feeling puzzled and Jun Lingxuan was secretly rejoicing, Bailey Hongzhuang suddenly attacked Jun Lingxuan's chest fiercely. "Go to hell." Her cold voice was filled with a sharp murderous intent. Bailey Hongzhuang's clear and sharp eyes flashed with a dazzling and intimidating light. "You!" Her fist, which was filled with tyrannical energy, smashed fiercely into Jun Lingxuan's chest and sent him flying. He didn't even have time to react before his injuries worsened. After spitting out a mouthful of blood, Jun Lingxuan stared at Bailey Hongzhuang in disbelief. His mind raced, but he couldn't figure out what had just happened. Chapter 48-81. Turning her back on him was the only possibility that Jun Lingxuan could think of. It was likely that this sorcerer wanted to continue staying in the Immortal Cloud's secret realm as Bailey Hongzhuang after successfully possessing her body. That was why she made such a decision. Jun Lingxuan, did you really think that the sorcerer could successfully possess her body? Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a mocking smile. Unfortunately, your wishful thinking is wrong. Di Beichen and the rest, who had been in a state of shock and confusion, finally understood what was going on when they saw Bailey Hongzhuang's actions. So everything that Bailey Hongzhuang had done earlier was just an act and had almost scared them to death. However, when they heard the words in her words, they couldn't help but be stunned. Possession. His ink-black eyes were filled with shock and fury. Di Beichen stared anxiously at Bailey Hongzhuang. Someone tried to possess your body? Even though he had never experienced it before, he knew that it was an extremely dangerous thing. Once the possession was successful, even if Bailey Hongzhuang was still alive, her soul would no longer belong to her. He never thought that such a situation would occur in the Immortal Cloud's secret realm. Jun Lingxuan would actually do such a vicious thing to Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded gently. That's right. The reason why I didn't react earlier was because a soul wanted to possess my body. Hearing this, Di Beichen and Mo Yunjue finally understood what was going on. Previously, they couldn't figure out what was going on because the cultivators who had come here were all young disciples from the various large families. It was almost impossible for possession to happen to them, so they didn't think in this direction. Now that they understood, they felt a wave of fear in their hearts. How dangerous was that? If Bailey Hongzhuang had not held on, she would have disappeared into thin air. Jun Lingxuan looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in astonishment. Countless thoughts quickly emerged in his mind. He even suspected that the sorcerer was faking it because Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't possibly defeat the sorcerer. Impossible, how did you survive? Jun Lingxuan looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in disbelief. He understood the evil cultivator's strength too well. Even Chen Feng would not be able to survive. I'm sorry to disappoint you. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a cold and arrogant smile. His soul energy wasn't strong enough, so I killed him. Impossible. Jun Lingxuan couldn't help but shout, this is absolutely impossible. You can try if you don't believe me. See if you can still contact her. Bailey Hongzhuang's expression was calm. Her gaze was calm, without the slightest bit of worry. Seeing this, Jun Lingxuan tried to call the sorcerer several times but found that there was no response. His face became pale and ashen as he looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. It seemed that he had really lost today. It's just that he couldn't understand how Bailey Hongzhuang was able to resist the possession. Why did all these things that he thought were impossible all happen? Jun Lingxuan, you can rest in peace now. Di Beichen's gaze was cold as the sharp sword in his hand stabbed out. This is the interest I collected from your Jun family. However, you don't have to feel lonely because they will accompany you soon. Miss Xiao, quickly save my elder brother. Jun Zitao couldn't help but shout after noticing that Jun Lingxuan was helpless. Chapter 48-82. When Mo Yinjue saw that Bailey Hongzhuang was safe and sound, he felt relieved and immediately sped up his attack on Xiao Sou. Only after dealing with these fellows would they be able to have a proper discussion and understand the situation that had just transpired. Xiao Sou had been struggling under Mo Yinjue's attacks and wished that she could crush the escape talisman as soon as possible so that she could escape. Then, when she saw Bailey Hongzhuang's appearance and Jun Lingxuan's special reaction, she felt that the situation might take a turn for the better, so she had been waiting for it. When she saw Bailey Hongzhuang attacking Jun Lingxuan, she knew that if they didn't leave now, they would have to stay here forever. Hence, when she saw Di Beichen attacking Jun Lingxuan, she did not hesitate to crush the escape talisman. She felt very sorry for Jun Shitao, but her escape talisman could only bring the two of them away. She had no other choice. Just as Di Beichen's attack was about to land on Jun Lingxuan's body, a ray of light suddenly flashed and Jun Lingxuan's figure disappeared right in front of him. Seeing this, Di Beichen could not help but stare blankly. A trace of astonishment appeared in his eyes, and then his face became gloomy. It's an escape talisman. During this period of time, he had been studying formations, and because runes were a similar method, he had some understanding of them. Something that could make Jun Lingxuan disappear in an instant could only be an escape talisman. There was no other possibility. Bailey Hongzhuang's face was filled with astonishment. At the same time, Mo Yinjue's voice rang out, "Xiao Sou has disappeared as well." Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others looked at each other and their faces were filled with unwillingness. They had been so close to making Jun Lingxuan stay, but they never thought that he would escape in the end. Damn it, that guy actually got away. The White Lion could not help but curse out loud. That guy had done all sorts of bad things, and the White Lion could not wait to tear him into pieces. Who would have thought that he would actually run away at the last moment? How could the beast not be angry? Bailey Hongzhuang also felt extremely unwilling, but she soon calmed down. Since they have escape talismans in their hands, no matter when we attack, they will be able to escape. The escape talisman itself was very powerful. As long as there was an opportunity to crush it, they would not be able to catch up. Unless they were much stronger than Jun Lingxuan and the others, they wouldn't be able to stop all this from happening. Obviously, they were unable to do so at the moment. Di Beichen nodded slightly. Jun Lingxuan and Xiao Sou had run away. This indeed made him very unhappy, but he also understood that this was unavoidable. Escape talismans are extremely precious. I believe that even they don't have many of them. His eyes, which were as deep as the ocean, rippled with the light of deep thought. They had waited until the very last moment to attack. That must be their only escape talisman. That's right, that escape talisman must have been crushed by Xiao Sou. Mo Yinjue's cold and hard face carried a deep chill. Previously, she had been paying close attention to Jun Lingxuan's situation. It seems that she has been paying close attention to Jun Lingxuan. The two of them have left, but Jun Zitao has been left behind. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes fell upon Jun Zitao. Previously, he had been severely injured by her. Now, his situation seemed to be even worse than before. Chapter 48-83. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Jun Zitao only glanced coldly at Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang, it's useless for you to say these words to provoke me. I know that I've fallen into your hands today, but my big brother will avenge me sooner or later. Jun Zitao's eyes were filled with hatred. After sweeping his burning anger across Di Beichen and the others, he chose to commit suicide by biting his tongue without hesitation. Seeing Jun Zitao's actions, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were stunned. By the time they wanted to stop him, it was already too late. I didn't expect Jun Zitao to have such a strong character. Bailey Hongzhuang's cool and pleasant voice was filled with emotion. Although she was very disdainful of Jun Zitao, she was also a little surprised to see him make such a choice. He knows that he'll suffer even more if he falls into our hands, so he chose to end his own life first. Di Beichen's extremely dark eyes were cold and deep. His voice was low and magnetic, and there was a hint of contemplation. At this moment, Bailey Hongzhuang turned her gaze to Xiao He and Xiao Bai. They had already fallen unconscious. What's wrong with Xiao He and Xiao Bai? Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were filled with concern. Previously, she had been too anxious to deal with Jun Lingxuan and the others to ask about it in detail. Xiao He was very weak because her blood essence was absorbed, but her condition improved a little. Did something happen after that? Why is Xiao Bai also unconscious? Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang's puzzled expression, Di Beichen and Baisher exchanged glances. Their expressions were complicated and helpless. After noticing the expressions of the two people, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes became a bit more serious. What happened? Why do you have such expressions? Master. White Lion said hesitantly. It recounted everything that had happened in detail. After hearing all of this, Bailey Hongzhuang's face turned extremely ugly. What did you say? Xiao He chose to self-destruct. Bailey Hongzhuang could no longer remain calm. Her delicate face was filled with nervousness and disbelief. Self-detonation was something that couldn't be reversed. Hongzhuang, don't be too anxious. Di Beichen held Bailey Hongzhuang's hand with concern on his face. Although we don't know the exact situation of Xiao He and Xiao Bai, at least Xiao He hasn't disappeared. Previously, when they saw Xiao He and Xiao Bai make such a choice, they were actually very sad. However, later on, they realized that Xiao He's body, which had swelled up due to her self-detonation, had gradually shrunk back. In the end, she had fallen into a coma along with Xiao Bai. From his point of view, this should be a good thing. At least there had been no explosion and Xiao He's physical body was still there. Even if this matter seemed a little unbelievable, as long as the outcome was good, it didn't matter how unbelievable it was. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded gently and quickly rushed to Xiao He and Xiao Bai's side to take their pulse. Baisher and Xiao Xuanzi stayed by Bailey Hongzhuang's side in concern. They could not help but ask, how are they now? After taking their pulse, Bailey Hongzhuang's expression gradually became strange. Their pulse is a little complicated. It seems like there's a lot of energy running amok in their bodies. However, their life force hasn't been affected. The strangest thing is that this energy is constantly intertwining in their bodies. Chapter 48-84. Their lives shouldn't be in danger. Bailey Hongzhuang pondered and said, however, their current situation is rather mysterious. Even I can't explain it clearly. As long as their lives aren't in danger, it's fine. Di Beichen said slowly. I didn't expect these two contracted beasts to be so powerful. Usually, when they choose to self-destruct, it would be useless. They actually manage to turn everything around. It's really rare. Even the usually calm Mo Yinjue could not help but be shocked when he heard this result. If this had not happened before his eyes, he would definitely not have believed it. Xiao He and Xiao Bai's existence is indeed very strange. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. Until now, apart from the White Dragon, no one else knows anything about them. In fact, because the White Dragon had lost its memory, it only knew Xiao He and Xiao Bai's names. It did not know anything about their origins or anything else. As long as they're safe, we can rest assured. The White Lion heaved a sigh of relief. I knew that these two fellows wouldn't leave so easily. Although they were always noisy and wished for each other to disappear, they knew very well that this was just empty talk. Bailey Hongzhuang kept thinking. Although Xiao He and Xiao Bai were always inseparable, they were still two living beings after all. Now, the energy and aura between the two were gradually mixing and circulating, forming a state where they were one in the other. This was very mysterious. Could it be that Xiao He and Xiao Bai had other special characteristics that had not been discovered? Bailey Hongzhuang could only keep this doubt in her heart. She could only understand this point when Xiao He and Xiao Bai woke up. As there was a restriction in the mystic realm, she could not put Xiao He and Xiao Bai into the chaos ring. Therefore, she could only bring them with her. Fortunately, Xiao He and Xiao Bai were not very big when they were unconscious. Therefore, it was very convenient to bring them with her. The White Lion immediately volunteered to take on this responsibility. Xiao He and Xiao Bai rested on its back. Let's find a place to rest first. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Di Beichen and Mo Yinjue. I need to go into seclusion for a while. Hearing this, Di Beichen and Xiao Bai immediately understood and nodded. All right. Wife, are you seriously injured? Di Beichen looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with concern. Although she was not seriously injured, she had been affected by the soul's possession. Xiao Bai's, Xiao Hei's Bailey Hongzhuang had a helpless look on her face. Her sea of consciousness had previously been used as a battlefield, and now it could be described as a scene of devastation. However, because the previous matter was too urgent, she did not have the time to fix it. Now that everything was over, she naturally had to repair her sea of consciousness. One had to know that the sea of consciousness was the foundation of a person. If something were to happen to it, the consequences would be unimaginable. Di Beichen and Mo Yinjue naturally understood the importance of this matter. After finding a more secluded place, they stopped. Wife, you can cultivate in seclusion here. We will help you keep watch. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded and didn't say anything more. She immediately went into seclusion. Chapter 4885. Bailey Hongzhuang carefully examined the situation in her sea of consciousness and discovered that her initially smooth and flat sea of consciousness was now filled with cracks. This caused her mental state to become extremely unstable. Previously, she had been too anxious and had not had the time to understand the situation in detail. Now that she had a better understanding, she understood how serious the situation was. It was a good thing that she had absorbed the power of that spirit. Even though her sea of consciousness had been severely damaged, her mental state was much stronger than before. It was only a matter of time before her sea of consciousness could be repaired. Jun Lingxuan had thought that he was going to die by Di Beichen's hands. He had even closed his eyes to endure the consequences. However, the expected pain did not appear. Only then did he open his eyes. Looking around, he found that he was already in another strange environment. Where was the shadow of Di Beichen and the others? What's going on? Jun Lingxuan was shocked at first, but when he noticed Xiao Shou next to him, he finally understood. You've used an escape talisman. That's right. Xiao Shou's face was filled with relief. It was a good thing that her father had given her this escape talisman before they had entered the Divine Cloud's secret realm. Otherwise, she would have lost her life by now. Xiao Shou smiled at Jun Lingxuan at the thought of this. It was really too dangerous. If it hadn't been for this life-saving talisman, both of us would have lost our lives. She still felt a lingering fear when she recalled the situation. She never thought that they would be able to completely turn the tables in the end. Speaking of which, Bailey Hongzhuang had been rather lucky. If it had not been for the appearance of Di Beichen and the others, they would have been the ones to emerge victorious. Jun Lingxuan was shocked. He quickly scanned his surroundings, and when he realized that Jun Zitao was nowhere to be seen, his expression turned extremely ugly. Where's Zitao? Hearing Jun Lingxuan's question, the smile on Xiao Shou's face froze. Her expression was apologetic as she said, "Young Master Jun, my escape talisman can only take 2 people away, so Jun Zitao has lost his life in their hands." Jun Lingxuan's face was filled with gloom and heaviness. I said that I would not give up on him. Young Master Jun, we had no other choice. Xiao Shou explained, if I hadn't crushed this escape talisman just now, then the 2 of us would have died together. Now that we're still alive, at least we can avenge him. I believe that second young master will understand. However, Jun Lingxuan remained silent. Looking at the relaxed smile on Xiao Sou's face, he only felt that it was particularly dazzling. Of Jun Lingxuan. Jun Lingxuan. Since young, he had always had the closest relationship with Shi Tao. Regardless of whether it was eating, cultivating, or anything else, they had always been together. They had even sworn an oath that no matter what, they would never abandon each other because they were the best of brothers. However, at this critical moment of life and death, he actually ran away. Jun Lingxuan shut his eyes in agony. When he opened them again, his dark eyes were filled with the sparks of hatred. Zitao, don't worry. I will avenge you with my own hands to comfort your soul in heaven. Chapter 48-86. 3 days later. The bright and beautiful sun shone on the earth, emitting a warm aura. The golden radiance shone through the gaps of the leaves and shone on the white figure, dyeing it with a layer of noble and holy golden light. The woman's eyebrows were like emerald feathers, her skin was like snow, her waist was like a bundle of silk, and her exquisite and perfect facial features were like a work of art that was meticulously carved by the heavens. All the beauty was placed on her, blooming with a breathtaking beauty. Beside her, two handsome figures, one black and one white, stood on both sides of her. The white-robed man was as noble as a god, while the black-robed man was as cold as ice. Despite the two different temperaments, their faces were breathtaking. At this moment, although the two men were cultivating, they would occasionally open their eyes to observe the situation of the white-robed woman. Di Beichen's gaze fell on Bailey Hongzhuang. He could feel that Bailey Hongzhuang's aura was gradually strengthening. Looking at the situation, I'm afraid that Hongzhuang is going to break through again. A knowing smile bloomed on his handsome face. Initially, he was still worried about Bailey Hongzhuang's situation. However, the situation that happened later made his worries dissipate. Because Bailey Hongzhuang's cultivation had already broken through from Star Light Realm Level 6 to Star Light Realm Level 7. If she didn't fix her problem, she wouldn't be able to break through. And now, he could feel that Bailey Hongzhuang's aura had increased. He was afraid that she would break through to Star Light Realm Level 8 this time. Although Hongzhuang went through a dangerous situation, from the looks of it, she also gained a lot of benefits. This can be considered as the beginning of the end of bitterness. Mo Yinjue's lips bloomed into a sincere smile, causing the cold lines on his face to become gentler. There was less of a trace of coldness and more of a trace of gentleness. Sure enough, opportunities and risks coexist. His deep and dark eyes were filled with joy. I think Hongzhuang will come out of seclusion after breaking through. Mo Yinjue nodded slightly. Let's wait patiently. Bai Shi and Xiao Xuanzi were also overjoyed. Originally, it would take a lot of effort to raise one's cultivation by one level. They never thought that Bailey Hongzhuang would be able to break through 2 levels in such a short period of time. If news of this progress were to spread, who knew how many people would be envious? Boom! Following the sound of a breakthrough, Bailey Hongzhuang's lips slowly curled into a bright smile before she opened her eyes. Her bright eyes were filled with joy and surprise. I didn't expect that I would be able to break through 2 levels with the help of that spiritual energy. Bailey Hongzhuang sighed to herself. Not only did his cultivation increase by 2 levels, the increase in his divine sense was even more obvious. This was truly a great harvest. When they noticed Bailey Hongzhuang's breakthrough, Di Beichen and Mo Yinjue had stopped cultivating. When they saw Bailey Hongzhuang coming out of seclusion, the two of them went up to greet her. Wife, have you completely recovered? His handsome face was filled with a warm smile. Even though he had already guessed the result, he still couldn't help but ask. Seeing the deep concern in Di Beichen's eyes and the faint warmth from his body, Bailey Hongzhuang's lustrous and watery eyes became sparkling. N. She nodded her head playfully. I'm fine now. That's good. Di Beichen breathed a sigh of relief. Only then did he completely relax. Chapter 48-87. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a gentle smile. Don't worry, I'm fine now. Although it was very dangerous for the sorcerer to possess my body, I'm still safe and sound. I've also gained a lot. Sorcerer. Di Beichen's handsome face froze. What exactly happened? Jun Lingxuan has always had a sorcerer's soul by his side helping him. This time, the sorcerer took a fancy to my physical body and chose to possess it. However, he was purified by my light energy in the end. If it weren't for the fact that I'm of the light attribute, I would have been in deep trouble this time. Her light and pleasant voice was filled with emotion. However, I've also profited from this disaster. My spiritual sense has been greatly improved and my cultivation has also improved. If I encounter such a situation again in the future, I won't struggle so bitterly like before. After repairing her sea of consciousness this time, she realized that her sea of consciousness was much stronger than before and had expanded a lot. The improvement was self-evident. So Jun Lingxuan has such a helper by his side. It's no wonder that he's always been so confident. Di Beichen's cold eyes flashed with anger. His gaze was as cold as snow. He won't be so lucky next time. How are Xiao He and Xiao Bai now? Bailey Hongzhuang turned to look at Bai Shi and realized that Xiao He and Xiao Bai were still in a deep sleep and showed no signs of waking up. Bai Shi shook his head. Ever since that day, they've been sleeping like this. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang slowly walked over. After taking their pulse, she realized that their condition was still the same as before. There weren't many changes. It looks like Xiao He and Xiao Bai won't be waking up for a while. Although this incident has caused them some harm, it might also be an opportunity. Bailey Hongzhuang's clear and bright eyes were filled with determination. She pursed her red lips. This was her judgment. They definitely will. Di Beichen comforted her gently. Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two once again stepped on the path forward. Xiao He and Xiao Bai were still on Bai Shi's body. He used his fur to wrap Xiao He and Xiao Bai. These two little fellows were very small to begin with, so it wasn't a problem for them to stay on Bai Shi's body. Even so, Bai Shi still walked less, hoping that he could give Xiao He and Xiao Bai a comfortable environment as much as possible. Noticing Bai Shi's small actions, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes became even gentler. Even though these little fellows were used to bickering with each other, they were very concerned for each other. You, Xiao, Bailey Hongzhuang, Bai's, Hongzhuang and pointed to a direction. Wifey, you can determine directions in the immortal cloud mystic realm. Di Beichen and Mo Yunjue's deep eyes were filled with confusion and amazement. Di Beichen and Mo Yunjue looked at each other. These few days, they had been randomly choosing a direction to walk in. It was completely based on luck. No. Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled and shook her head. Every place here has a different environment. It's all foggy, how can we know which direction to go? Then. Mo Yunjue's handsome brows furrowed. He was even more puzzled. Previously, I obtained a black stone in the Penglai Palace. All this time, I didn't know what it was used for, so I kept it in the Chaos Ring. Chapter 48-88. Following Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Di Beichen and Mo Yunjue's faces filled with astonishment. Is that the black stone from before? Di Beichen raised his handsome brows. He knew about this black stone as well. Back then, Bailey Hongzhuang had shown him this black stone. However, at that time, they had not been able to figure out what the stone was used for. They never thought that it would have a reaction in the upper realm. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded, that's right, it's that stone. That means that this stone is probably something that has been passed down from the upper realm. Di Beichen's eyes filled with understanding, no wonder we couldn't figure it out back then. So the answer lies here. Since we have a target, let's head in that direction. Mo Yinjue spoke without hesitation. They had been wandering around aimlessly in this place, so they had no idea where to go. No one knew where they would find a reward. Perhaps they would stumble upon a place that would bring them a bountiful harvest. Furthermore, the stone in Bailey Hongzhuang's hand was clearly no ordinary object. The place that it was pointing to would definitely not be simple. The three of them looked at each other and smiled as they made the same decision in their hearts. This was a great opportunity. If they left the Divine Cloud secret realm, they would never be able to uncover the secret of this stone again. Along the way, Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two hurried along as fast as they could. No one knew where the stone was leading them to, nor did they know if anyone would arrive first. The sooner they arrived, the more advantage they would have. Along the way, they would occasionally meet other cultivators. However, none of them were disciples of the Di family or the Lin family. Hence, everyone only met each other briefly before leaving. They had no intention of forming a team or competing against each other. I wonder where Jun Lingxuan and Xiao Sou have been transported to. Mo Yinjue furrowed his brows. He felt that the two of them would be trouble as long as they were alive. If he could get rid of these two guys earlier, it would save him a lot of trouble. The escape talisman in Xiao Sou's hands is probably not simple. Presumably, the teleportation distance should be quite far. Bailey Hongzhuang pondered and said. The greater the power of the escape talisman, the further the teleportation distance. That escape talisman was Xiao Sou's life-saving measure. With her identity as the Holy Maiden of Light, her status in the Xiao clan must be the highest. Naturally, the escape talisman would not be simple. From the looks of it, we won't be able to meet them for a while. Di Beichen said in a low voice. His deep and enchanting eyes flashed with a trace of haze. His thoughts were the same as Mo Yinjue's. As long as these two guys were dealt with, they would be able to completely relax. We can try to see if we can meet Su Minglei along the way. Her black and white eyes rippled with a cold light. Regarding Su Minglei, Bailey Hongzhuang also clearly remembered him. If it wasn't for this damned fellow, he wouldn't have fallen into such a predicament. As long as he met him again, he definitely wouldn't let that guy slip away. Su Minglei from the Su family. Di Beichen looked inquiringly at Bailey Hongzhuang. He also made a move against you. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. Only then did she explain the sequence of events. Although Su Minglei left before us, he obviously didn't travel as far as the escape talisman. We might meet him along the way. Chapter 48-89. Even though Bailey Hongzhuang was looking forward to meeting Su Minglei along the way, it was a pity that this fellow's luck was pretty good. She had not seen his shadow for several days in a row. However, as they hurried along, they were getting closer and closer to the place that the black stone was pointing them to. The place that we're looking for should be not too far ahead. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes lit up. The feeling from the stone was getting clearer and clearer. It was clearly right in front of them. Hearing this, Di Beichen and Mo Yinjue's eyes lit up with joy. After hurrying along for such a long time, they've finally arrived at their destination. As they gradually got closer, a white building appeared in their line of sight. The entire building was white and flashed with a bright and dazzling light. It was filled with endless nobility and holiness. A solemn and serene aura emanated from the building, causing their originally impetuous hearts to settle down inexplicably. There's actually a white building here. Could it be a historical remnant? Bailey Hongzhuang's face was filled with astonishment. Even though she had been saying that the place that the black stone was pointing them to would not be simple, when she saw this building, she realized that this was probably another historical remnant. Di Beichen's eyes were filled with astonishment. This white building reminded him of the Black Palace that he had seen in the lower realm. However, there was a fundamental difference between the two buildings. Nevertheless, they both emitted an aura that caused one's heart to palpitate. One could not help but feel reverence towards them. It's very possible. Mo Yinjue was also shocked. Could this historical remnant also be the inheritance of a light attribute cultivator? A light attribute cultivator's power was white. Generally speaking, cultivators of other attributes would not choose this color when building historical remnants. Only light attribute cultivators liked this color the most. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen looked at each other. They had the same question in their minds. Then, the three of them walked forward without hesitation. As they gradually got closer, they heard a sound coming from not too far away. Seeing this, the three of their expressions changed slightly. They did not expect that other cultivators would have arrived before them. This remnant is really strange. There are clearly no restrictions, but I can't enter at all. That's right. When I first discovered this place, there weren't many people here. I didn't expect there to be more and more people waiting here. Most importantly, we don't know when this will end. The conversations were filled with complaints and annoyance, and soon after, the voices of conversation rang out one after another. Hearing this chaotic conversation, Bailey Hongzhuang was surprised. She didn't expect so many people to arrive before them. Wife, could the reason why they can't enter be because of this stone? Di Beichen raised his eyebrows. If the stone was pointing to this place, then it was very possible. I don't know. Bailey Hongzhuang pondered. Let's go take a look first. Maybe we'll meet our teammates. The three of them smiled at each other and quickened their pace. After the three of them arrived, they noticed that there were more than 10 figures in their line of sight. At first glance, they noticed Di Xiaofeng's existence. Beichen, Hongzhuang, Yunju. The gentle voice was filled with surprise. Di Xiaofeng immediately stood up and looked at them with a smile. Chapter 4891. It's mainly because my wife is powerful. She beat them to the point that they couldn't resist. When Yunju and I appeared later, we basically didn't have to do anything and they had already fled. Di Beichen's lips curled up slightly, revealing a mouthful of white teeth. His charming black eyes were full of pride. Are you kidding us? Di Xiaofeng and the other two stared at Di Beichen in a daze. They felt helpless in their hearts. Why didn't they notice that Di Beichen had the bad habit of showing off his love before? The pride between his eyebrows was obviously showing off that he had a good wife. What Beichen said is true. Mo Yinjue said quietly again. As soon as these words came out, the expressions of Di Xiaofeng and the others changed again. If it was only Di Beichen who said this, they would think that Di Beichen was joking because he was in a good mood. However, Mo Yinjue was different. According to their understanding, Mo Yinjue was a person who didn't joke. Since even he said so, could it be that all this was true? Are you sure? Lin Qianqian's eyes widened in disbelief. Then she looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and explained, Hongzhuang, I don't mean to look down on you, but isn't this too unbelievable? Did you really beat them up single-handedly? Lin Qianqian looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with burning eyes. Previously, she only knew that Bailey Hongzhuang's alchemy skills were extremely powerful, but she didn't have much expectation for her cultivation. Although she was very surprised that Bailey Hongzhuang could persist on the deck, according to the situation she learned, Bailey Hongzhuang's cultivation shouldn't be very high. In any case, with this cultivation, let alone dealing with Jun Lingxuan and the other two, it wouldn't be easy to deal with one person. It's not that exaggerated. I was also in danger before. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. It was the first time she saw Lin Qianqian like this, and it was very interesting. Now I feel that you are Yi's biological sister. It turns out that your personalities are similar. When Yang Ming saw Lin Qianqian before, she had always been calm, which was in sharp contrast to Lin Yi's character. At that time, she had thought that the two sisters' personalities were poles apart, but now that she saw Lin Qianqian's current appearance, she felt that they were indeed sisters. Listening to Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Lin Qianqian blushed and looked a little embarrassed. She then turned to Mo Yinjue and said, "Yinjue, I didn't expect that even you would fall." When we arrived, Jun Zitao was indeed heavily injured and had no strength to fight back. If it wasn't for Jun Lingxuan using some underhanded tricks, Hongzhuang would have finished them off. Mo Yinjue looked indifferent. His cold face was like ice without any temperature. His voice was calm as he stated a fact. Seeing this, Lin Qianqian and the other two couldn't help but look at each other. They gradually began to accept this reality in their hearts. I'm afraid all this is not a joke. It's all true. Hongzhuang, I didn't expect your combat power to be so strong. I really underestimated you before. Lin Taxing stared at Bailey Hongzhuang. His handsome face was full of exclamation and surprise. He then turned to Di Beichen and said, "Beichen, you are really lucky to marry a good wife." Di Xiaofeng chuckled, "Taxing, then you have to follow this standard to find a wife in the future." Based on this situation, the winner should be Big Sister and the others. But if that was the case, Di Beichen and the others would not have come here unscathed. Hearing this, the eyes of the Jun family's disciples lit up. Their leader was Jun Lingxuan. They had not been able to find Jun Lingxuan, and they felt a little uneasy. Although most of the cultivators were still scattered, it was obvious that many people had gathered here. Chapter 48-93. Is this true? The gazes of the Jun family's disciples fell on Di Beichen and the others, revealing unfriendliness and suspicion. In my opinion, it should be fake, right? Jun Chenbin said slowly. If they really met, Ling Sun would have already dealt with them. Why would he let them appear here? Jun Chenbin's face was full of disdain. When he first heard the news, he was also a little surprised, but after thinking about it carefully, it was probably impossible. As Jun Chenbin's voice fell, Xiao Sudong also nodded. Actually, I think the same as you. It's definitely impossible for them to meet. As he spoke, Xiao Sudong no longer had his previous persistence. He only felt that perhaps it was because he wanted to know the whereabouts of his elder sister so much that he didn't even consider the most basic thing clearly. If they didn't meet, then just say that they didn't meet. Why do you have to pretend to be so mysterious? Xiao Sudong looked at Lin Qianqian with disdain and mocked. Xiao Sudong, don't be so proud. Lin Qianqian rolled her eyes. To tell you the truth, Beichen and the others not only met Xiao Sou, but also met Jun Lingxuan and Jun Shitao. Xiao Sudong and the others who were about to leave stopped after hearing Lin Qianqian's words and turned to stare at her. However, the result is not what you think. Lin Qianqian spread out her hands and shrugged. The ones who fled were not Beichen and the others, but Xiao Sou and the others. What kind of joke are you making? Xiao Sudong snorted coldly, his face full of sarcasm. If you made it up, I might believe it. Now you're saying that my elder sister and young master Jun are no match for Di Beichen and the others? Huh, don't make a fool of yourself with such lies. Jun Chenbing also laughed. When Ling Sun appears later, your lies will be exposed. Wouldn't it be even more embarrassing? Looking at the expressions of Xiao Sudong and the others, Di Xiaofeng's face also darkened. At this time, Di Beichen's magnetic and flat voice sounded, I didn't expect that Xiao Sou would have such a treasure like the escape talisman. I really underestimated you. Xiao Sudong, who had been laughing extremely exaggeratedly, suddenly froze after hearing this. How did you know? The escape talisman was given to Xiao Sou by his father before they entered the immortal cloud mystic realm. The only people who knew about this were Xiao Sou and him. Other than them, no one else knew. Even the other disciples of the Xiao clan did not know about this matter. Logically speaking, it was impossible for Di Beichen to know. Could it be that, what Di Beichen said was true? Xiao Sou crushed the escape talisman and left. Bailey Hongzhuang said calmly. Xiao Sudong looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, his mind full of thoughts. Before mentioning the escape talisman, he did not believe it at all. But now he had no choice but to believe it. He must have encountered it before. Because I think it must be the three of you who attacked my elder sister. That's why such a situation happened. Xiao Sudong's face turned ashen. I didn't expect you to be so despicable, bullying her with numbers. Chapter 48-94. My big sister isn't here right now, so you can say whatever you want. When my big sister appears, I'll see if you can continue to lie. Xiao Sudong's face was full of disbelief. Bailey Hongzhuang, don't think that you're so great after being in the limelight in the alchemy competition. Don't you feel embarrassed to blow your own trumpet like this? That's right, Miss Xiao and our Jun Lingxuan, don't tell me our strength can't be compared to you people from the lower realm. It's simply a fantasy story. Jun Qinbin's face was full of disdain. He felt that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were too funny. Even if it was to show off their own ability, they shouldn't have made up such a flawed lie. I'm blowing my own trumpet. Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled, it's up to you to believe it or not, but you should recognize this thing, right? As her voice fell, Bailey Hongzhuang directly took out a storage ring. What storage ring? Xiao Sudong frowned, I've never seen it before. However, when Jun Qinbin saw the storage ring, his face suddenly changed, and a deep shock appeared in his eyes. They were no stranger to this storage ring. This was clearly Jun Zitao's storage ring. Although storage rings looked similar, they grew up with Jun Zitao since they were young, so they were very familiar with his storage ring. How can Zitao's storage ring be with you? Jun Qinbin's face was full of horror. He knew very well that a cultivator's storage ring couldn't appear in other places. Once it appeared in other places, there was only one possibility, he was dead. Jun Zitao was dead. When this thought appeared in the minds of the Jun family's disciples, they all felt that it was simply impossible. In any case, Jun Zitao couldn't be dead. What's more, they encountered Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two. Could it be that the combined strength of the three of them was stronger than Jun Lingxuan and the other two? After hearing this, Xiao Sudong couldn't help but be stunned. What did you say? This is Zitao's storage ring. Why are you here? Don't you already know? Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows and asked. Impossible. Jun Qinbin said firmly. This is absolutely impossible. Believe it or not. Di Beichen looked coldly at Jun Qinbin. We don't have time to deal with you. Do as you please. With that, Di Beichen pulled Bailey Hongzhuang to the other side. It's useless to talk to them. In any case, they have already decided in their hearts. In the end, when Jun Lingxuan and the others appeared, these guys naturally knew. Di Xiaofeng and the others also followed after seeing Di Beichen's actions. However, Jun Qinbin and the others did not give up and followed closely behind. Di Beichen, explain yourself. Di Bei Chenqing looked at the angry Jun Chenbin in front of him, and a trace of coldness appeared on his beautiful face. Do you want to fight? If you want to fight, we'll accompany you to the end. Chapter 48-95. After Xiao Sudong and the others left, Di Xiaofeng could not help but sigh. These guys really won't shed tears until they see the coffin. They'll understand sooner or later. If it weren't for the fact that there are too many cultivators gathered here, I would have taken care of them directly. Lin Taxing's eyes were filled with disgust. He really did not have a good impression of these guys. Di Beichen nodded slightly. He also noticed that there were many cultivators gathered around. While they were arguing, the surrounding gazes were all fixed on them. Presumably, everyone was itching for them to fight so that they could reap the benefits of the third party. By the way, big brother, why are so many of you gathered here? Di Bei Chen's deep and charming eyes revealed a contemplative light. For this point, Di Bei Chen had always been somewhat unable to understand. Logically speaking, it was impossible for all the cultivators who entered the Immortal Cloud's secret realm to gather in the same place since they could not tell the direction. However, when they arrived, there were dozens of cultivators gathered here. It was simply unbelievable. We were also attracted by the light that appeared in the ruins. Di Xiaofeng slowly said. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others finally understood that the ruins would flash with a dazzling white light every 4 hours, attracting all the surrounding cultivators. Di Beichen and the others had come here because they had seen this dazzling light. When I first arrived, there weren't so many cultivators. However, this building has attracted more and more people recently. Emperor Xiaofeng revealed a helpless expression. I was hoping to enter this building to find some treasures while no one else knew about it. I didn't expect that even though more and more people have come, I still haven't found a way to enter. Can't find a way to enter? Bailey Hongzhuang asked, is it because the door can't be opened? That's right. Lin Qianqian nodded, this building is really too strange. Although there's a door, I can't find a mechanism no matter how hard I search. Look, there are many people fumbling around over there. However, we've searched the entire area and couldn't find any mechanism at all. Not only that, we tried to break through the door, but no matter how we attacked, it was useless. The defensive power of this door is too strong. It's not something we can break through with our strength. Lin Taxing sighed helplessly. After being in the Immortal Cloud mystic realm for so long, he had not gained anything. His only hope lay in this building. Who would have thought that he would not be able to enter it? Bailey Hongzhuang turned to look at the entrance of the building. As expected, many cultivators were looking around, trying to find a way in. Di Beichen and Mo Yinjue couldn't help but look at Bailey Hongzhuang. Their minds were filled with thoughts of that rock. Perhaps that rock was the way to enter. Sensing their gazes, Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head quietly. I keep feeling that this place is a little strange. It seems to be different from what I thought before. Although she had come here based on the stone's reaction, after seeing this building, she had a strange feeling in her heart. Chapter 48-96. What's the difference? Di Beichen wrinkled his beautiful eyebrows and asked. For Bailey Hongzhuang's intuition, he had always believed in it. Since Hongzhuang had such an idea, there must be something else going on behind the scenes. Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head, I don't know what the problem is, but give me some time and I'll figure it out. What's going on? Listening to the conversation between Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang, a trace of doubt appeared in Lin Qianqian's eyes. Oh right, Beichen, didn't you see the light coming from the building? Did you come here by coincidence? No. Di Beichen shook his head and looked at Bailey Hongzhuang before continuing, actually, Hong Zhuang found a stone when she was in the lower realm. We followed the stone's reaction and came here. The stone was a secret to them, but Di Xiaofeng and the other two were trustworthy people, so he didn't plan to hide it. After all, they were a team after entering the Immortal Cloud's secret realm. Stone. Di Xiaofeng was stunned. A stone from the lower realm? Lin Qianqian was also shocked. A stone from the lower realm is related to the building in the Immortal Cloud's secret realm. Hong Zhuang, you're too lucky, aren't you? Normally, although there would be things in the upper realm that would fall to the lower realm, the chances were not high. Moreover, Bailey Hongzhuang was able to find something in the upper realm that resonated with the stone. The chances were not small at all. Actually, I didn't expect it to be like this. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly, but this is still a clue, maybe we can find something. Of course, Di Xiaofeng's eyes lit up, since it can be used to sense something, it must be useful. You guys rest here for a while, we'll check the area around the door and see if we can find a way to enter, Bailey Hongzhuang said slowly. Since they were already here, she naturally had to check it out. She naturally wanted to know the secret of the stone. Moreover, she always felt that the stone was fated with her. You guys go ahead. Di Xiaofeng nodded. Although there are many cultivators here, there are also many forces. Normally, there won't be any danger. Hearing this, Di Beichen and the other two didn't say anything else and turned and walked towards the front of the building. As they gradually approached the white holy building, the power of light shone on the three. It was warm and made them feel comfortable. The power of light really gives me a comfortable feeling. Di Beichen smiled lightly. No matter when, the light was always what everyone yearned for. Maybe this building is the inheritance of a light attribute cultivator. Di Beichen raised his eyebrows, subconsciously looking at Bailey Hongzhuang. After all, they felt, the legacy, and Bailey Hongzhuang was the most. If the legacy? After walking to the front of the door, many cultivators around them looked at the three of them. However, their gazes only lingered for a short while before they looked away and continued to examine the door in front of them. This building is really strange. After attracting everyone here, we can't find the entrance at all. I've already looked at every corner of the door, there's nothing special at all. Chapter 4897. After Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two approached, they began to look around for the mechanism to enter. Although the other cultivators had already searched all around the ruins these days, they still paid careful attention to everything. There might be something they missed. After Jun Chenbin and Xiao Sudong left the location of Di Beichen and the others, they returned to the territory they occupied before. Jun Chenbin, are you sure you didn't see wrong? That storage ring really belongs to Jun Shitao. Xiao Sudong still couldn't believe it. After all, Jun Shitao was the second young master of the Jun family, and his strength was also extremely outstanding. He couldn't believe that Jun Shitao would die at the hands of Di Beichen and the others. Jun Chenbin and the other two Jun family disciples' faces were extremely ugly, and for a moment, they were also somewhat uneasy. I remember very clearly that the storage ring belongs to Shitao. Jun Chenbin's face was gloomy. If Shitao really died at their hands, then we must avenge him. After getting an affirmative answer, Xiao Sudong's eyes flashed slightly. This result was really a bit shocking. Even if that's the case, they must have used despicable means to sneak attack Shitao. Otherwise, it's absolutely impossible. Jun Chenbin's eyes were filled with haze. When he looked at Di Beichen and the others, the hatred on his face was even more undisguised. That's for sure. Xiao Sudong nodded. In my opinion, Jun Shitao must have been unlucky and was ambushed by the three of them. As for the other things, they must have made up a lie to scare us and make us panic. We can't fall into their trap. That's right. Jun Chenbin agreed, and then asked doubtfully, then what's the matter with this escape talisman? Xiao Sudong's expression was a bit complicated. Maybe they learned about it from other channels. Anyway, I don't believe what they said. We'll know when Xiao Sou and Ling Sun appear. I believe they should be attracted by this light soon. The Jun family disciple said. On the other side, after the three of them carefully examined the door of the building, they found that it was just as everyone said. They couldn't find any mechanism. I'm afraid there really isn't any mechanism here. Bailey Hongzhuang said slowly, if there is a trap, there are so many people here. Someone will accidentally touch it. Di Beichen nodded slightly, and his gaze fell on the keyhole in front of the main door. Wife, could the stone in your hand be the key? There was only one keyhole in the entire door, but it was obvious that no one had the key. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the keyhole and compared it with the stone in her hand. In the end, she shook her head. Although this keyhole is similar to the stone, it is not the same. The stone should not be the key. Hearing this, Di Beichen and Mo Yinjue were also puzzled. They were attracted by the stone, but they didn't expect that the stone wasn't the key. Don't worry, as long as the door is opened, we will definitely find the secret of this stone. Mo Yinjue said slowly. The three of them didn't give up and looked around the entire building before choosing to give up. When Di Xiaofeng and the others saw Bailey Hongzhuang coming back, they couldn't help but ask, do you have any clues? Chapter 4898. I knew it. Di Xiaofeng revealed a look of understanding. When I first came here, I had been studying this point. However, after studying for 3 whole days, I still didn't gain anything, so I gave up. Hongzhuang, did your stone have any effect as well? Lin Qianqian asked. Bailey Hongzhuang pondered and shook her head. It is not the key to opening this building. Hearing this, Lin Qianqian's eyes flashed with a trace of disappointment. I see. It seems that there is no other way now. Lin Taxing sighed. In my opinion, we can only wait here now. Speaking of which, this place is really strange. Recently, it has been attracting more and more cultivators. Could it be that it wants to attract all the cultivators around here? Di Xiaofeng revealed a puzzled expression. He had never understood the purpose of this building. At least, many cultivators who want to take the treasure for themselves will not be able to succeed. Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled. What if this building never opens? Lin Qianqian frowned. She was not worried about anything else, but this was what she was most worried about. If this building never opened, wouldn't they be wasting time here? Hearing this, everyone could not help but fall into silence. Regarding this point, everyone really could not judge the result. It shouldn't be. Di Beichen's handsome face was full of contemplation. I think this building will definitely open. Let's wait here patiently for a while. Everyone nodded. After all, if they were to leave like this, no one would be willing to. What's wrong with Xiao He and Xiao Bai? Di Xiaofeng found that Bailey Hongzhuang did not have Xiao He, who was usually chattering, beside her. After searching for a while, he found Xiao He and Xiao Bai sleeping on the white lion's back. White Lion's fur was very long. In addition, he was deliberately wrapping Xiao He and Xiao Bai. If one did not look carefully, one would not be able to tell. Bailey Hongzhuang looked a little sad. When we were fighting with Jun Lingxuan and the others, after she explained everything, Di Xiaofeng and the others finally understood what was going on. I didn't expect Jun Lingxuan and the others to go so far. Lin Qianqian looked angry. Although I didn't have a good impression of Xiao Sou in the past, I didn't hate her either. I didn't expect things to turn out this way. Birds of a feather flock together. How are Xiao He and Xiao Bai doing now? Di Xiaofeng's gaze was a little heavy. He knew how Di Baichen felt about Xiao He and Xiao Bai. If something happened to Xiao He and Xiao Bai, then, fortunately, Xiao He and Xiao Bai's lives are not in danger. However, they are now in a deep slumber and we don't know when they will wake up. It's good as long as they are fine. Lin Taxing said and sighed in his heart. Most people would not be able to save themselves from self-destruction. He really did not know how these two contracted beasts did it. After discovering that they could not find a way to enter the building, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others no longer focused. Instead, they began to cultivate in peace and patiently waited for the door to open. During this cultivation process, Bailey Hongzhuang discovered that the speed of cultivating the light energy was much faster than usual. She was pleasantly surprised. It wasn't a good idea to continue staying here. Even if the building would open up after he left, he would just accept it and take it as his bad luck. Seeing Emperor Xiaofeng make this decision so quickly, everyone was a little surprised, but thinking about it carefully, this was not a bad decision. Chapter 4900. Following the appearance of this ray of light, everyone's gaze changed and their eyes were filled with anticipation. Is the door about to open? Such a rich light. I feel as if my entire body has been cleansed and bathed in the power of the light. Luckily I haven't left yet. Otherwise, I would have missed such a good opportunity. For a moment, all the cultivators present revealed joyful smiles and all their previous complaints disappeared into nothingness at this moment. Bailey Hongzhuang's gaze focused on the building that was blooming with supreme brilliance. Then, she noticed that the door that had been tightly shut was finally showing signs of opening. Seeing this, Di Baichen and the others' eyes flashed with a glimmer of light. Almost all the cultivators approached the door at the first moment. Everyone knew that the sooner they entered, the greater their harvest. Let's go in quickly. Daiheowen's eyes were filled with joy but his voice was tinged with anxiety. At this moment, the slightest hesitation could cause them to miss a good opportunity. Everyone nodded and immediately quickened their pace as they approached the door. Rumble. The door opened on its own and made a dull sound. Everyone rushed into the ruins like a swarm of bees. Their speed was pushed to the limit as they were afraid of being left behind. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were not slow either as they quickly entered. As soon as they entered, everyone realized that the building was extremely large and there were 2 forks in the road. There were more than 30 cultivators from the Di family and the Lin family in total. After seeing this situation, everyone chose to split up without hesitation. Let's split up here. Those who are familiar with each other should form a team and take care of each other. Di Xiaofeng quickly said. Safety first. Don't lose your life for the treasure. Everyone, remember this clearly. Lin Taxing also said. Let's go. Everything happened in the blink of an eye. No one was willing to waste any time while fighting for the treasure. Bailey Hongzhuang, Di Baichen, and Mo Yunjue naturally walked towards one of the passages. Di Xiaofeng originally planned to lead the other members of the Di family, but thinking that Daiheowen was there, he chose Di Baichen and the other 2. After all, before they left, her family had repeatedly reminded her to take good care of Baichen and Hongzhuang. The speed of the 4 of them was not slow. Although they were not the first to enter, their speed still surpassed most of the cultivators. This building was no different from the layout of the ruins that Bailey Hongzhuang had seen before. There were still rooms here. The only difference was that this place was dazzling with gold and jade, and it was as bright as day inside. Everywhere was filled with holy radiance. Walking here, everyone's hearts seemed to have been cleansed, and they were filled with awe and respect. When everyone passed by the first room, they found that many cultivators had already gathered inside. At this moment, a fight had already broken out for the treasure. The sound of fighting mixed with the sound of wind breaking could be heard incessantly. The other cultivators had even blocked the door, making it impossible to see what was inside. Seeing this scene, the four of them continued to move forward without hesitation. They did not want to waste any time here. This was because they all knew that the deeper they went in the ruins, the higher the value of the treasure. You're tuning in to the Han Lee's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.